Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this episode of VS Code Insiders Edition. We're going to look in this session. I'm going to show you a few cool new features, some that you might know already, some that you might not know about, specifically agents, having custom agents within GitHub and your repository. We're going to look at instructions and prompt files and what exactly has changed. Some of you might know chat modes. This is slowly going to change to agents, custom agents instead of chat modes. So I have to say again that the features that I'm going to show you here are insiders, VS Code Insiders Edition features. So these are not in the latest release of VS Code, but you can start playing with this or getting ready for these cool new things that are coming in the Insiders Edition. So just before we start, I'll introduce myself. My name is Marcel Lupo. I'm a Microsoft MVP in DevTech for about 5 years now. I work specifically with developer productivity, developer tools, GitHub, and GitHub Copilot, as well as Azure DevOps. And as a solutions architect in Azure and DevOps architect, I am quite focused on embracing the agentic AI, especially GitHub Copilot, and the amazing things that you can do with that. So with that, I shall start the demo for you. So I have a repository here called Copilot Archetype Standards Demo. Now, this repo is specifically for Terraform module building, how you can almost like enhance your Terraform project, if you have one, on GitHub by using custom agents, instructions, and prompt files. Well, so let's start first with custom agents. So we would create a .github folder in our repository and an agents folder. Underneath agents, we would create a file called terraform.modulebuilder.agentmd. It's not so critical what you call the file as long as it's got the .agent.md as appended here, and I'll go into that in a minute. But what we can do is we'll set up the file, the markdown file, with a bit of front matter. Front matter is going to give it a description that says, we're going to call this a module builder for Terraform, strategic infrastructure module creator. We can then select the tools that we want to enable. If you've got MCP servers, you can enable them, but we just want to use these tools. They're basically so that we can operate in agent mode, because we're going to build a custom agent specifically for Terraform and infrastructure as code. This is a little bit more advanced than your regular agent mode that you're used to. We're basically specifically going to build an agent, and we can have multiple agents when we define these agents. But we'll start off with the description, the tools. What's cool about it is we can specify which model to use. In my case, I'm going to use GPT-5 for this specific agent. I could use Claude. I could use any other agent that I have available to me. It is important to note that the .agent.md, the bit in front of it, terraform.module-builder, we will reference that a bit later. Just make sure that you are aware of the structure of this file name. So what is this agent going to do? Operate as an infrastructure-focused planner and module writer with Terraform-specific awareness and deep knowledge in Microsoft Azure using the Azure RM and Azure API providers, produce implementation plans, and write Terraform scripts to deliver new and update existing infrastructure modules. I've also got a module folder structure, which is the module name, main, variables, outputs, locals, version, TFRs, examples. All files must be present even if empty. Use constant formatting, comments for clarity. Commented Terraform code in, I need commented Terraform code in all files. Complete Terraform module with with all the files, some operating constraints. Just focus on best practices and patterns, avoid unnecessary complexity, always use for each for resource collections, don't use count unless absolutely necessary. So we're kind of giving our agent like a few instructions in a way, telling it how it should operate. Module structure for the Terraform considerations module should be structured for reusability. State management should be remote backend using Azure storage. Locking and encryption needs to be available. Version pinning needs to be enforced. Validation must be done through Terraform FMT, validate TF-lint and Trivy for security scans. Don't allow public access to storage accounts or databases. Be aware of security and cost optimization. So that's our module builder agent. Now, another thing that I have here is called instructions. The instructions is basically what needs to apply to all the TF files. And here I'm going to be very specific. I'm going to say always use this version of Terraform, always use these versions of the providers. I give an example of how that should be written and what features I would want, how state management should look like and be set up as, what state locking, Azure best practices. So it's quite a comprehensive, key vault integration example, private endpoint patterns. We'll look at modern Terraform 1.13 features specifically, like optional object attributes, enhanced for expressions. So these are just like kind of generic examples and instructions of how I want my code to look like. But I'm very specific in the instructions. I don't want to, I want to use specific versions that I can control. I want specific module structures. And this is basically just how I can give examples of doing that. How to test and validate that using Terraform format. And so this is quite a big instructions file. You can be kind of really specific with how you want these instructions. Common pitfalls to avoid: never hardcode tentative values, avoid count when possible, don't use the latest provider but print specific versions, avoid inline blocks, etc., etc. And I also give it some references to some external resources that it can go and look at. These instructions are mainly geared towards this repository, about this project, how I want this, instructions for this project. But I have my Terraform module builder, which is specifically tasked with building modules for me. I also have one called Sec Reviewer, which is specifically going to look at security issues. It's a read-only analysis, where this one has got more tools available to it. It's going to actually be creating modules and writing files and doing cool stuff like that. Now, here's where prompts are quite interesting. I have created a prompt file that's called generate module.prompt.md. Just to show you as well here that the Terraform instructions, just going back there for a moment, ends with .instructions.md. Agents ends with agent.md. Now, prompt.md is where I'm going to actually specify which agent I would like to use. So for example, for my Terraform generate module prompt, I am instructing my prompt to go and use the agent builder agent. So I give it the agent, I give it a description, and again, I give it some tools that it will have access to. You'll see here that I specified the model, but here I can't specify the model, but the tools can be specified again. So here we're going to say Terraform Builder Agent, create high quality, reusable Terraform modules following organized standards, prioritize Azure conventions, and then some operating rules similar to the instructions, giving it the module structure again, and just giving it like a few deliverables and things that I wanted to do, like create a README file, secure by default targeted resources, etc., etc. So how do we call these prompt files? Well, when we open our GitHub Copilot chat on the right-hand side here, we can call a prompt file by just hitting / and then typing out Terraform. So you can see here I've got Terraform Azure Review Sec and Terraform Generate module. So I'm going to pick the Terraform Generate module, and I'm going to say create a Terraform module in a folder called landing zone, which consists of a resource group, a storage account, and a key vault. And I'm also going to say adhere to the instructions in the file, and I'm going to call this say Terraform not instructions .md, and just for added context, I'm going to add that Terraform instructions file here as additional context. Now, what's really interesting is because I've called the Terraform module generate module prompt file, it's automatically selected my Terraform module builder agent and also the model that I associated with that agent. So I'm just going to run that. And in my instructions, I also have things like, sorry, not in my instructions, in my prompt, I have things like, always comment code for clarity. If details are missing, don't assume. Ask for additional input if needed, for example, location, resource list, SKU tiers. Always ask for the environment managed by and workloads for tags, for all tags and resources. So you'll see here that it's used the Terraform instructions to kind of look at my coding standards or examples and versions that I want to use, etc., etc. So we'll just keep that running for a couple of seconds. You can see here it has created 6 to-do lists for me. So it's created the folder called landing zone. We can also see the to-do list here at the bottom, where it's showing us step by step what is happening. So it's reading the standards attachments, it's creating the landing zone module files, it's implementing the resources, so valuable implement resource of that, optional private endpoints, outputs and docs, and example TFR. So it's kind of taking it all one by one, step by step. Now it's validating the file. So because I have in my instructions, I want the validation to take place using Terraform FMT, I'm going to allow the Terraform init and format. You can see there it's created standards, it's created, well, it's write the standards, it's then created my module. And if we go and look at, okay, so it suggested the names here. So it's found that it should not allow public access. So it needs to correct those files to only allow secure networking. It's kind of neat. And now it's doing the 10 and it's giving me the actions taken. So let's have a look at this real quick and see exactly whether it's followed the instructions I wanted it to do. So it's created a locals file. It's commented my files with comment tags such as environment, managed by, and workload. It's normalizing lowercase names for workload and environment. The RG name storage accounts as these characters because I say adhere to Azure naming limitations. If we'll have a look here in the instructions. So as we can see, it's created the locals.tf file with my comment tags, which is environment, managed by, and workload. It's created the main file. It has created my resource group, my storage account, public network enabled should be false. We'll check that in a moment. Lifecycle, so it's having place conditions and preconditions for me. Optional private endpoint, link to private DNS, key vault, network ACLs. So it's done all of these things that I wanted it giving me some outputs, giving me a README file with a few examples, TFR examples, variables with validation and versions. Now, if we look at these versions, I've decided to specifically use that version of Terraform and these version of the providers. If we look at the instructions, we will see that at the top here, to always use these versions and providers. So that's pretty neat. And it's done a Terraform plan and all that. Now, I did all of that in specifically the way I wanted my Terraform module to be created with my standards. Now, what I can do on top of that is I've created a security code reviewer agent that is going to use read-only and is going to basically give it this prompt, and I'm going to use my security agent, Terraform security code reviewer agent, and it's going to be doing these specific checks for me against Terraform. So, for example, check that these things are enabled on a storage account, like HTTPS, minimum TLS, blob access, public access is enabled, private endpoints are configured for. So it's going to run through these like check boxes if I have these resources in terms of security. So to run this, I'm just going to, again, hit / and I'm going to write Terraform Azure review sec prompt. I'm just going to say, please check or please do a code security check on my landing zone module. Hit that. And if we look here, this is also using GPT-5. Actually, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to change this to, I want to show you that you can change that. Let's use Claude Sonnet 4.5. So I want to use, I'm just going to save that. So I want to do my code review using this agent, but I want to use the Claude Sonnet model. So if I was, for example, on agent mode for GPT-5, you'll see as well here, I have my two agents that I can call upon here. But because I'm going to call this prompt, I'm going to say / Terraform review security, check my landing zone module for any code security issues. And I'm going to give it context. I'm going to say the files and folders for landing zone. I'm going to give it that context. And if I run this, you see automatically it would change my agent to the Terraform SIG reviewer and my model to Claude Sonnet 4.5. And instantly it's asking me whether I want to do a format, well, to basically run Trivy. Now, let me just check if I do have Trivy on my machine here. Okay, it's not there. So I need to basically install Trivy on my machine. So let's do that. Let's say allow. It's going to probably fail. It's going to say Trivy isn't installed. So it's just going to do, if I had Trivy installed, it would then, in my terminal, run Trivy. So it's going through but remember, this is not edit mode. This is a read-only analysis. So it's literally just going to tell me on the right here what issues there are. So let's have a look as that runs. If I make this a bit bigger. So let's have a look. So let's have a look at the first one. The resource storage account is missing. Allow nested items to be public false. So exploitability is high. An operator could accidentally create a public container. And it tells me what reference it used. And it also gives me a remediation. Second one is that the shared access key enabled is missing, and I should put that. The third one is missing diagnostic logging for the storage account, how to add that missing diagnostic logging for Key Vault and how to add that, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, just by creating really my agents specific to Terraform, some good Terraform instructions and reusable prompts, I can very, very quickly create new modules and check them for security. And yeah, that is really, really cool. Custom agents in VS Code. Like I said, these features are in the Insiders edition. They will probably come out to the full stable release of VS Code soon. But I thought I'd make a video about this just so that you're prepared, because agents used to be called chat modes. And I think it's quite a nice improvement. Very cool stuff. So thank you very much and have a lovely evening, and hope you enjoyed the session.